The caravan routes have been intersecting here, and the history and culture of this region are rooted in the depths of millennia. Hello, this is another episode of the project Terra Inkognita. My name is Anton Fedorov, and I came to the Akmola region, Kazakhstan. The history of this region dates back to the 19th century, when the nomadic cattle breeding had been a significant part of the economy of people living here. Akmola region was founded in 1868. It was part of the steppe governor-general and occupied a vast territory of the central and the northern Kazakhstan. People were mainly engaged in farming and cattle breeding here. However, the development of local lands by human began much earlier. To learn more about this region, I'm going to the local history museum. I'm sure Akmola region keeps a lot of interesting facts and mysteries. My assumptions were right. Life on the territory of this region appeared millions more years ago. Once the climate here was tropical, the region was rich in vegetation and various types of animals and birds. There are original evidences kept in the Kokshetau Regional History Museum that even dinosaurs were found on this land. Please pay attention to this unique exhibit. This is a three-toed footprint of a dinosaur. These prehistoric animals lived on the territory of Akmola region 286 million years ago. However, the climatic changes that occurred millions of years ago on the planet turned this Earth into a snow-covered desert, and all the thermophilic animals, starting from dinosaurs, became extinct. A variety of flora also reduced much. But this did not stop the life itself in the local territory, and it began to take on new forms and types. Mammoths inhabited the territory of Akmola region after dinosaurs. Here's a reconstruction of the skeleton of one of them. This animal was 3 years old. They did not restore the bones of the adult animal, as the exhibit simply would not fit into the local museum. The appearance of a human on the territory of the Akmola region can be dated to the lower Paleolithic area. At that time, people began to inhabit the local land, rich in game and wild fruits. The appearance of active human work is evidenced by the ancient sites of the Stone Age, discovered by archaeologists. At that time, people lived here in huts consisting of logs and covered with skins of animals that helped to save warmth in the cold weather. In the Middle Age era, there was a medieval settlement of Bozok in the Akmola and North Kazakhstan region. It was located 25 kilometers from the city of Astana. And at that time, the settlement of Bozok, say, was the capital of northern Kazakhstan. And all the most important trade and caravan routes passed through this settlement. Civilizations and cultures have changed in the Akmola region during the centuries. They left unique evidence of their existence on this land. The study of ancient dwellings, graves, and household items found by archaeologists allows making the most amazing conclusions about the history of this land.
Административный центр Акмолинской области, город Kokshetau.
The administrative center of Akmola region is the Kokshetau city. It was founded in 1824 as a military fortress. The place for the future city was not chosen by chance. The thing is that there is a sharply continental climate in this region, and the temperature in winter can fall below 40 degrees. Therefore, it was decided to establish the city at the foot of the mountain Kokshe, where I am now, as it protects the settlement from the icy steppe winds. The active settling of Kokshetau began in the second half of the 19th century. In 1863, the population increased so much that 72 trade and 10 dairy shops were already operating in the city to meet its needs. There were 2 schools with Kazakh and Russian languages of instruction. The city itself developed so rapidly that in 1887 there were 288 houses and almost 2,000 inhabitants. The rapid growth of Kokshetau began in the second half of the 50s. By that time, a garment factory, a plant for oxygen respiratory equipment were operating, which was the largest enterprise of the settlement for a long time, with several thousand people of staff. Since 1954, buses and taxis began running in the city. Cultural centers and a 3-story regional hospital were built. A large-scale housing construction began. The first asphalted street appeared. Kokshetau city became an important industrial center of the region. Akmola region became known in Soviet times. In the middle of the last century, the party leadership of the USSR determined this region as the main one for using its fertile soil for sown areas. For several decades, hundreds of thousands of hectares of land were sown with wheat. And today, the Akmola region gives 40% of the total harvest in Kazakhstan. The development of virgin lands in the middle of last century can be called one of the largest projects in the history of the Soviet Union. From 1954 to 1956, 640,000 people came to Kazakhstan to create sown areas in the uninhabited steppe. The conditions in which people had to work were extremely difficult. The transformation of wild steppe lands into fertile land did not stop all year round. During the development of virgin lands in Kazakhstan, almost 600 million tons of grain was harvested. For example, this reserve would be enough for 300 years for a country like Belgium with a population of 11.5 million. While I continue my acquaintance with the Akmola region and its history. My journey through the Akmola region continues, and I arrived at the open-air museum of Botai Burabai. Here I can learn about the ancient Botai culture and see valuable archaeological artifacts aged more than 6,000 years old. This ethnographic museum is an exact copy of the ancient settlement of the Botai, who lived on this land 6,000 years ago. As you see, some dwellings are framed with skulls of horses on top. These animals played a big role in the life of the ancient people, and household items found by archaeologists allow scientists to conclude that the Botai were the first nomads who tamed the wild horse. The Kazakh steppe keeps a lot of amazing secrets and legends. Once, ancient civilizations lived here, who gave the world culture, for example, a domestic horse. Riding a horse, humanity has accelerated significantly in its development and was able to travel long distances in a shorter time. And the Botai, who once lived on these lands, are the authors of this historical invention.
We
can say for sure that these are the first horse breeders of the steppe. Evidence of this are the various things for catching the wild horses found here. Imagine what it means to tame and train these horses. This process took much longer. Bindings for legs, bridles, all fixtures were from bones. And during the archaeological excavations, about 90% of the materials found were from horse bones. And when studying the details of ceramics, the scientists determined that they drank kumis at that period. The dwellings of the Bowties are cone-shaped structures made in the form of a tumar amulet and recessed underground for 1.5 meters. All rooms are interconnected by underground tunnels, and each has its own specific purpose.
Вот это помещение выполняет функцию
This room serves as the main Bowtie dwelling. As you see, the hearth is in the center. In cold weather, it served as a source of heat. Food was cooked on it, and the room itself was intended to meet guests or gather a family. The average Bowtie family had up to 18 members. In everyday life, the people of Bowtie widely used bones and various devices made of stone. We may surely say that the organization of the household of these tribes was at a high level. The objects created by the Bowtie helped them build good houses and protect them from the cold. Winter in this region lasts almost half a year, and the Bowtie specially created their homes to spend a long time there waiting for the weather to warm up.
Мы сейчас находимся в спальном жилище. Как правило, в таких жилищах они отдыхали, спали.
We are now in a dwelling. As a rule, they had rest and slept in such dwellings. They slept on such mats, on top of thatch, skin, plank bed, as we call them. These plank beds were closer to the right side of the door. As a rule, there was a ceramic hearth in each dwelling. It became very warm in the room. In the summer, when we checked for cravings, it was very strong and the room was quickly filled with warmth, as the ceramics keep the heat very well. And here are the stone products. This is a material for processing hides that was found before. Such kind of scrapers that scrape the skin. They actively
Керамика очень хорошо держит тепло. И вот здесь у нас представлены изделия из камня.
Use the skins. These are firstly clothes, and secondly, they are devices for storing food, meat, and other stuff.
Шкуры они использовали активно.
Let's see the skull. You said that the first cranial trepanation surgery was performed here.
Давайте череп посмотрим, вот где вы говорите.
Да. Да. Ну. Вот комната вождя. Тем самым он стоял.
Here's the leader's room. It was apart from the main dwellings. Here, the leader was sitting here, solving some important issues, matters of peace and war. Nomads, that is, the ruling aristocracy, gradually appeared in the steppe. And whose skins are these? These are natural horse skins. We connected everything with horses. Bones are everywhere. All this is for a reason. These sacrificial rituals are related to horses. For example, when a man died, he was lined with horse skulls. By that time, there were no mass graves of people. But one particular skull was found. Let me tell you more about this skull. Of course, we will listen with pleasure. What a long tunnel.
Давайте я более подробно расскажу про этот череп. Хорошо? Пойдемте.
I can definitely say that the Bowtie were not tall, because with my almost 2 meters, I have to bend over much to walk through these corridors.
Мы сейчас находимся в жилище шамана. То есть шаман проводил свои ритуалы, здесь какие-то обряды. И еще...
We are now in a home of a shaman. The shaman performed here his rituals. Some rites. There were also additional dwellings. They were not far from the main dwellings. They served for the burial of people. Not literally under the ground, but simply people were laid there and covered with horse skulls. It was a kind of burial. These are the premises used for the crypt. People were left here. And this man, with cranial trepanation, he was found in a niche of a wall. He was buried right in the wall. And look, in this man's skull, you can see a double hole in the back. Please take a look.
Захоронен был прямо в стене. И обратите внимание, этот человек, с задней стороны можно увидеть вот это отверстие двойное.
Yes, there is one. They drilled his head with a silicone drill. He was treated in this way. It was a trepanation. This has already been proved. And this man lived another 17 years and was the shaman of this community. It means he had a certain power.
17 лет. И был шаманом этой общины. То есть обладал определенной силой.
At first, the researchers assumed that the Botai hunted horses because quite a large number of horse bones were found at the residence of these tribes. But as a result, they concluded that they still bred them as a source of milk and meat, just as we now breed cows. Therefore, the Botai lived in one place, did not migrate, and they managed to build settlements with up to 200 dwellings for 6 centuries. And during excavations, archaeologists found traces of kumis, the traditional Kazakh drink, on clay vessels.
Как правило, бутайцы доили своих кобыл в таких кожаных сосудах.
As a rule, Botai milked their mares and stored milk in such leather or ceramic vessels. There's such a hypothesis. In general, how could kumis be preserved? An animal, especially a mare, is very capricious and gets used to the smell. Every time, for example, if the owners who milks the mare change, then it starts kicking and biting. And the women at that time knew that the mare needed a special approach so that each time one woman went to milk with one vessel. And the ceramic vessel milk was preserved for a long time.
Впитывалось и сохранялось долгие годы.
The ancient settlements of the Botais and the territory of the Akmola region are unique historical monuments telling us how people lived on these lands 5,000 years ago, what culture they represented and what knowledge they had. And the presence of such settlements of ancient tribes confirms a high level of civilization, which originated the Great Kazakh Steppe. I'm sure it still keeps many amazing mysteries and secrets that need to be solved and found out by us and many more future generations. And I continue my journey through the Akmola region, and now I'm going to tell you about its most beautiful and picturesque place, the Borovoy Resort. This forest carpet covers the territory of Akmola region for 43,000 hectares. Amazingly beautiful forests stretched on this land thousands of years ago, and in some places they have been preserved in their original form. Now here's the National Nature Park Burabai, with the area of 84,000 hectares. It was founded in 2000 aiming to preserve the entire natural diversity of the region, rare species of plants, animals, and birds. Today it is one of the favorite recreation places of Kazakhstanis and guests from the neighboring countries.
Курорт Боровое – идеальное место для любителей пеших прогулок.
The Borovoy Resort is an ideal place for walking. You can admire the local beauty all day long. One of the brightest local attractions is Zhumbaktas Mountain. Now we'll show it to you. It rises straight out of the water. Translated from the Kazakh, Zhumbaktas means mysterious stone, and I will explain why. Please note that the shape of this mountain resembles the profile of a girl, and it is precisely because of this that this rock is overgrown with a number of legends. I'm going to take a boat ride to this rock and take a closer look at it. Still curious how such a huge stone has acquired such a bizarre form.
Самое главное в морском деле
The most important thing in the maritime business is not to lose your paddle, because staying in a not-moving boat in the middle of a pond is not very pleasant. According to a legend, a beautiful girl turned into this stone. She was the daughter of a rich man who wanted to marry her to Khan, but the heart of a young beauty belonged to a horseman of a common folk. The guy also fell in love with her. Understanding that the greedy father would never accept the choice of his daughter, the couple in love decided to escape and went to meet their happiness. After finding out that the daughter had left the house, the father sent his sons to chase her. The chasing men almost caught the rescuers, but they went into the lake. The young men sailed to the middle and waited until the angry brothers of the girl left them alone. But the father's order was harsh, so the chasing men began to shoot bows in the couple, and one of the arrows struck the young Jigit right in the heart. His blood sprinkled the waters of the lake. Seeing the death of her beloved, the girl turned to God Tengri, so that he would forever turn her into a stone and leave her with her lover. So the legend explains here the appearance of this mysterious stone. There are great many different legends and tales in Kazakh culture. They have been handed down from generation to another for many centuries. The people composed stories about these lands, and one of the legends was dedicated to this mighty and inaccessible rock. It is called Kokshetau, which in Kazakh means not to get by an arrow. A legend has it that once upon a time a batar named Kokshetau lived in the mountain area of Burabai. From the first days of his life, the boy was smart and strong. He grew, as they say, by the seconds, and by the time he was 10 years old, he was so tall that the arrow that has spears allowed into the sky did not reach his chest. Kokshetau became a defender of his land and, instead of a horse, rode a huge elephant. And once, after a tough battle, this mighty batar, taking off his armor, decided to dive into the healing lake to heal his wounds. Forgetting caution, Kokshetau fell asleep. At this time, enemies who were hiding nearby attacked him. Batar woke up, but he was without weapons. Then he began to pull pines out of the ground to destroy the enemies. But there were too many attackers, and the forces were not equal. Retreating, Kokshetau stumbled on a huge stone and fell. The enemies pounced on him and tied him up. Then the warrior turned to the heavens and asked the god Tengri to turn him into a stone, so that the enemies could not take his life. Seeing that his master was becoming a rock, Kokshetau's battle elephant pressed against the batar and froze with it. People believe that the spirit of a fearless warrior still guards these places. The nature of Burabai National Park is truly magnificent. This place is called the Kazakhstani Switzerland. Indeed, the landscapes of these lands are fascinating and magnifying. And I continue my journey and want to tell you about one place that is especially revered by all the people of Kazakhstan. There are not many ancient monuments and spiritual shrines preserved in the Akmola region, but I will tell you about one of them. This place has a deep sacral meaning for the entire Kazakh people. The fact is that the headquarters of one of the most prominent rulers in the history of the Kazakhs, Abulai Khan, was located here in the 18th century.
As
the story says, Abulai Khan was a very wise and far-sighted politician. This is the place for their headquarters and was chosen for a reason. On the tops of these mountains, the ruler put the guards who could see the oncoming enemy from far away. The attackers had to cover the steppe for several more days, during which the troops of Abulai Khan could prepare to repel the enemy. An important period in the history of the Kazakh people is related to the name of this great ruler. Little Abulai was born in the Khan's family, but when he was still a child, all of his relatives were killed by the Dungars. The boy was forced to migrate and lived the poor man's life. But Khan's blood has always distinguished him from other children. Abulai was stronger, smarter, and nobler than his peers. His real name was Abil Mansur, and he received the nickname Abulai in one of the most important battles in his life. Among the enemies, the future Khan saw his father's killer. He summoned this warrior to a duel and, throwing himself at the enemy, cried out, "Abulai!" That was the name of his grandfather, the mighty and strong batar. When uttering the name of the ancestor, it was as if Abulai Khan called the force of his own family to help and won the battle. After this legendary victory, Abalai told the generals about his origins. None of the warriors left no doubt that they were facing a future Khan. The Batars proclaimed Abalai as their leader and vowed to serve him faithfully. When another external threatened over the numerous clans of the Kazakh people, it was Abalai who, with his name and authority, united all the people to fight and was proclaimed the first Kazakh Khan. There is a legend that it was on this stone throne that Abalai Khan was seated. During his life as a ruler, he did a lot of useful work and won many high-profile victories. But his main merit is that he was able to unite the entire Kazakh people into a single whole nation. I have to say, the trip to the Akmola region turned out to be quite difficult. The filming interfered periodically with increasing rain. The whole film crew was pretty cold, and they needed a hearty and tasty dinner. So after a hard work's day, we arrived at one of the recreation areas of the Borovoy resort. The tourist season has already ended here, but some bases will continue to work because here in Borovoy, you can actively relax in winter as well. Fans of ice fishing, skiing and snowboarding come here. In fact, the tourist season in this region lasts a whole year. The film crew today did a great job, so I decided to treat them today with a nice dinner, and we'll cook a real man's meal, lamb shashlik. And first, we need to make the firewood. Our meat is already marinated, so let's start. Properly made bonfire and prepared embers are the half of the successfully cooked dish. They should be as hot as possible so that the meat, which I will fry on them, immediately becomes covered with a soft crust and does not give out juice. Firewood for making the fire or shashlik cannot be few. Let them be more than the meat is undercooked. Of course, it is best to use saksa wood for cooking shashlik, but this plant is listed in the Red Book in Kazakhstan, and its cutting is prohibited. But birch firewood is also quite suitable for preparing the coal. While our fire is burning, it's time to do the meat. Let me tell you some tips on choosing the meat for shashlik. Be sure to pay attention to its color. Meat should be fresh. Too dark pieces say the animal was old. Shashlik from such meat will be rough. Choose the pink meat. Before you buy one, for the marinade, push it with your finger. If the meat is fresh, then after pressing the hole will quickly recover. If not, choose another. Kazakhstan is a multinational and multicultural country, and shashliks have long been a popular dish here. It is very important to properly strung the meat on a skewer. It is necessary to put the pieces along so that they do not rotate and roast evenly. During frying, try to turn the skewer to each side for 2 minutes. Then your shashlik will not burn. To check the readiness of the dish, simply cut one of the pieces with a knife. If in the middle the meat has changed color, then your dish is ready. While cooking shashlik, I didn't notice how it's gotten dark. Now we will have a delicious and hearty dinner. And in the morning, we're going for the new adventures. So our dinner is ready. It was another episode of Terra Inkognita. My name is Anton Fyodorov. See you on the air.